What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another video today, and in this video we'll be taking another look at my collection. Today we'll be taking a look at my fleet of Northwest Airlines aircraft. One of my favorite retro airlines in my collection, and is also one that has a decent representation in my collection, as I have a total of 15 Northwest aircraft. This does include Northwest Airlines aircraft. I have a total of 3 in the collection right now, and I'm hoping to grow that fleet a little bit, even though those planes are very difficult to find. So we'll need to rely on eBay or perhaps even Gemini to re-release a few of them that have been made before, and then release some new ones that haven't been made before, like the Northwest Airlines CRJ-200 with the bowling shoe livery. That's surprisingly never been done by Gemini in either scale. And there'll be some other cool stuff to get as well. So I've got this collection divided up into 4 different eras. I've got the Orient era, the X-Orient era, or Post-Orient era rather, bowling shoe era, and then the final livery era. So distinct eras of Northwest represented in my collection. This is of course not the entire history of Northwest, as there's still various types that I do lack, and I'm hoping to add those into the collection at some point down the road. So we'll go ahead and get started way in the back here with our 2 Orient-era aircraft. Both of them are propeller aircraft. On the left, that's my Gemini Jets Northwest L-188 Electra, which I have taken a look at in another episode of my collection. How fitting. And that was when I took a look at my Electra fleet, which I have quite a few of, so go check that out if you want to see my full Electra collection right now, as it is quite decently sized thanks to all the recent Gemini releases that have been made of them. They haven't done one in a while, though. But I got this just after Christmas of 22, so it was in 2023 that I picked that plane up, as it was released right at about that time. On the right is the Northwest Orient Boeing 377 Stratocruiser, one of only 2 that I have in my collection. It's a very nice, very unique type to my collection, as I don't have very many of them, and there weren't very many made in 400 scale. But that Northwest is made by Aero Classics, and I got this at my first airliner show in Chicago in 2022. It was, I think, $50 for it, so not a bad deal for one of those things, because I know they go for a little more than that sometimes on eBay. I'll move down a little bit. So there's my Post-Orient era aircraft, the thermometer livery, as most people call it, especially me. So take a look at the 757-200 that I have here. This is by Gemini Jets. Released in 2021. I got this in 2022 during the spring months when I was in Minneapolis. Very nice model right here. So happy to add this to the collection amongst all the retro 757s that Gemini has done. Of course, they most recently released the United Saul Bass, which I also picked up. I'll have to do an episode on that type, so let me know if you're interested in that. And then up here we have my 747-400. This is with the thermometer livery and made by JetX. I'll go and move the 75 out of the way so you get a better view of the jumbo jet right here. And the registration on this bird is 661 Uniform Sierra, which is the first 747-400 ever built. And this was the livery that it was delivered to Northwest with, and only the first, like, maybe 2-3 of them wore this livery before the bowling shoe livery came around at about the same time. So after that, all the 747s delivered to Northwest were painted in the bowling shoe livery, which I'm still trying to hunt down, and hopefully I'll be able to find one at some point. And of course, most of you know that this airframe, this is on display at the Delta Flight Museum down in Atlanta now, painted in the Delta colors after it was retired by the airline in 2015, also known for that rudder hardover incident over Alaska in 2002 when it was still with Northwest. So very interesting history for this aircraft, and I'm excited to check it out, as Airliners International is going to be in Atlanta next year. We'll be hosted at the Delta Flight Museum, so excited to check it out and see what the Delta Flight Museum has to offer. I did see that they are going to close the museum. I think they're doing some changes to their exhibits and all that, so we'll see what that looks like when we get to Airliners next summer. In the moving down, as you can see, this is the bowling shoe era, and I've got quite a few of this type. This is the most prominent Northwest livery in my collection, with a total of 7 aircraft, and including 1 special livery as well. We'll go ahead and get started with our little tiny Airlink aircraft. So I'll go ahead and move that tail out of the way. I'll move a couple of these planes around just for a better view on some of them here. So that one right there, that's my Northwest Airlink F-27, Fokker F-27, by Aero Classics, and this was released in 2012. Had quite the pain finding this until Waffle posted a huge collection sale, and then he had this in there for, I think it was like $50 as well. So it's a little pricey for a little tiny aircraft like this, but I know they go for way more than that on eBay. So $50 is a pretty good deal for that type. What wasn't necessarily a good deal was this Northwest Airlines Saab 340, which I had to pay a fortune for this because the eBay auction that I found, it kept just going up and up and up, and I wasn't going to let this one go because this was a critical model for the Retro FSD project, which I've put on hold right now since I don't have many new aircraft coming in, and I've already covered most of the eras that I can with the current aircraft that I have in my collection, so that's why I haven't seen any new episodes of that series in a little while now, and it may not return, at least for the foreseeable future. So I'll do my best to try and find some filler content until I'm able to bring this series back when it is reasonable, so I'll still be doing some research during the downtime, but for the time being, there will not be any new videos, at least until I can get some new aircraft in my collection, especially the white whales, because those are hard to find. But this one was one of the white whales for quite some time until I finally got it off of eBay. This was in Christmas of 2022 that I got it. So very nice model. Happy to have it. Also got this model at about the same time, the Northwest DC-930 bowling shoe by Gemini Jets, under the Gemini Jets 2 branding. Another big model for the Retro FSD project. Pretty much all these bowling shoe aircraft, except a couple, are critical for that project. So that's why I have quite a few of them here in my collection. And then next to that is the A320 by Gemini Jets that they released back in 2020. Bit of an off-the-wall release at the time because they weren't really doing a lot of retros in, early to mid-2020 because of the whole, pandemic and the factory being shut down for about a month and a half, so they couldn't announce anything new for quite some time. But this was in one of those first releases after they were able to reopen the factory. And initially I didn't get it because I wasn't into retros at the time, but now that I am, I was able to pick it up at a hobby store in Minneapolis in 2021 for about retail price. And unfortunately the nose wheels fell off. I was able to put it back on, but recently they fell off again. I don't know where the wheels went, so it's going to be nose wheelless, at least for the foreseeable future. Then move on to other bowling shoe aircraft. The one on the top there, that's the 727 by Gemini Jets. This model I got at the Airliners International Convention in Dallas back in 2023, so I've had this one for a little while now. I don't think I've used this in a Retro FSD update just yet, but I do plan on using it when we do return to that project in the future. So I got it for the project, but haven't used it yet because, again, the DC-9, that was way more common in Sioux Falls. But we did occasionally get the 727, so we will definitely be getting to that type at some point down the road. Either way, happy to have it, and it's a nice model in the collection. And down to the bottom, I got that Northwest MD-80 bowling shoe at the most recent Airliners convention in Kansas City. $25 out of a scratch and dent box. There was no damage to the model or the box or anything. I think the only thing that was missing was the stand, so that's probably why it was discounted, which seems a bit, excessive to me in my opinion for the discount, but I'll take a big discount any day. For $25 for that thing is pretty cool. I am planning on selling this to a friend who's been wanting this model for quite some time, so I'm really hoping that Gemini or NG will release this at some point between now and the next airliner show, so we will see what happens, as I don't want to go too long without a Northwest MD-80 again. And then we have World Plane, the Northwest 747-400 by Gemini Jets, the 5th ever Gemini model that was produced. A very nice livery right here, and I'll just kind of show you some of the details of it. So there is the front of the aircraft. See, 50 years of bridging the Pacific. So you got Manila there on that side, Singapore, Bangkok, and Hong Kong. And I think on the other side they do have some other cities on here, so I'll go ahead and show that other side. And on this side, you've got Honolulu, Jakarta, I think, Seoul, Beijing, and Tokyo. And I think they have a couple of their U.S. hubs right here. So I see like San Francisco, Minneapolis, St. Paul. I can't really read the text from here. It's very, very tiny. But I do see Minneapolis on there at least, so I know that for sure is on there. 670 Uniform Sierra is a registration on this, and again, the 5th ever Gemini Jets model produced, so it's a nice gem to have in the collection, and I'll do a more detailed retro review on that in the future. So I'll move on down to the final livery aircraft that I have. I have just 4 of them here. All of them are smaller domestic aircraft and an Airlink airframe in there as well. So move up here to my A320 by Gemini Jets, the first Northwest aircraft that I got from my collection. I remember I used to have one of those old Matchbox Skybuster 747s, and the printing has worn off on it pretty badly because, as a kid I played with it a lot. It was a really cool plane, but I'm hoping to get the Gemini release at some point because That is a very nice model. This is released in 2008, so during the ongoing Delta merger, and this was released well after the fact. A319 by Aero Classics in 2021, got it that Christmas. Very nice model, and again, both have been used heavily in the Retro FSD project. And actually, all four of these have been used quite heavily in that project. And then move on down to the DC950 by Aero Classics, right around the time that I started really getting into retros and right before I officially started the Retro FSD project. This was released by Aero Classics some time ago now. I got it off of, I think it was a Flying Mule, if I remember right, for a really good deal. I didn't know, actually it was Jet Collector, not Flying Mule. Those stores are pretty similar, but it was Jet Collector I got the DC950 off of. And then our last Northwest aircraft for this video, we have the CRJ200 for Northwest Airlines in the final livery. Got this off eBay a few years ago, and again, another model that's been used very frequently in the Retro FSD project, which again is on a hold until I get some more aircraft in, since I do lack quite a few types that I do need to do many of the different eras that I have yet to complete for the project. So there's my entire Northwest collection. Awesome collection for sure, with a bunch of cool aircraft sitting around, a lot of them rare gems, and definitely models that I would recommend to anyone's collection if you're looking for a Northwest aircraft. If you can find them, that is, because all of these were quite difficult to find, except the recent releases, like the 7.5 by Gemini, the Orient Electra by Gemini, and then that A320 also by Gemini. So pretty much all the ones that were recently done have been Gemini jets, and then the Aero Classics 319 in the final livery, all those recent releases, but everything else has pretty much been purchased secondhand. With that being said, thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next video.